So I got this 11D theme called Epic CSS, and it's a little bit above and beyond a regular 11D theme. I had originally made your typical CSS 11D theme and was finding that it could use some performance on the CSS side. So did some more integration as far as Sass and utility first and Flexbox, and was able to get it down to a real slim, easy to manage, easy to scale, and lightweight theme. So that was a big concept behind this theme, is getting the performance to a point where everything snaps along at practically an application level speed, which is keeping your web vitals basically below 1 second. So here we have it's a basic blog starter theme, and it has the latest post here and then 4 more posts down here on the home page. If we click through the post, and here's the post, and I should say this is the live demo here on a Netlify app URL that it's at. And if we click around, you can see it's like a typical blog where it's aggregating all the posts here on the post page, but also it has subcategories and breadcrumbs, and in those subcategories posts, and it's utilizing the SEO friendly URL that is traceable right through the URL. So that's all integrated per like best practices, you could say. So yeah, that's the overall of the theme. It's really nice theme, responsive, and the bare essentials to creating a website, basically, that can do different things like have that blog loop in it if you need it, or just create pages also if you need to do that. So I wanted to do a general overview on it. We'll download it or get it from GitHub, run through some of the features about 11T, and then the Epic CSS side of things, that is the really cool, fun stuff that makes it easy to style and do different layouts and manage your spacing and whatnot. So I have epiccss.com here, and that has on the 11T theme page has all the information for downloading it and installing it. It's just a basic setup like you would any other node library. You can just clone it, install, and then start. So we'll go through that process, what that would look like. And here's the GitHub, all the files, same documentation here as well. And you can copy the clipboard there, and I'll simulate here on my work project, or my folder where I would normally install it. So you'd right click, go to your git bash, open your command line there, do git clone, and paste in that URL, hit enter, and that'll bring it in locally. From there, follow the instructions, but from there we're going to switch directories, and we'll cd into, it's called Epic CSS 11T theme. Did I spell that right? Epic CSS 11T theme. Oh, I'm not quite in the right folder. Sorry about that. We gotta go one more in. This is what folder it's in. So we're at that point where we would have had it cloned down, and now we're going to cd into Epic CSS 11T theme. So we're in the working folder that we cloned down, and then you would do npm run or npm install and that will install the dependencies. Once that runs all the dependencies and installs them, you can do npm, just npm run start, and that will start up the node server. 11t is going to build out all the files here and get us a port to work on. So we can go to 8083. Localhost 8083, and here we go. We're working locally, and we can start developing. Everything is looking good here. I was just kind of playing around with some layouts on the nav, and I can kind of continue where I was moving stuff around with the utility first and being able to adjust spacing and layouts on the fly. But yeah, this is how you bring it down locally. I want to kind of go over the files. First, start with the 11t files. So 11t, if you're not familiar with it, usually comes in the working folder being the source folder. Outside of that, the root folder has your 11t.js, so all the functions that you're going to be adding to the theme. And it comes with a fair amount of options where it's managing things, passing through what we want to pass through. So it's going to only build the necessary things that we're looking for. And it's doing some CSS cleanup for us. I think there's a date string in here that's correcting the date. It's doing, here's creating the latest post filter. Let's see what else, and so on. Yeah, these are the core functions of the theme, and you can just sort of work JavaScript in right here. Here's the output, or the input is our source folder, and the output is the site file. This is what will be served to the browser. So when you push it up to Netlify is going to need to know like the build command, and then it'll see things from there. I think you might have to tell it which is the publish folder here. So into sort of the nuts and bolts of it includes is where all the like component type things are going to be. So the reusable pieces, the base has your base HTML and stuff like that everything runs through. So it gives you one simple template there, and all the different pieces here for everything that makes up the site, the core reusable pieces, and then the limited HTML that each one of those pieces use. But the actual content of the site is coming from like the home page is the index file, and I'm using NJK nunjucks. So it's a templating language and commonly used with 11t, and makes things really easy to dynamically include stuff or do if statements and loops and stuff like that. So a really fun language to work with and not too complex. The main thing about 11t is, I wouldn't say maybe the main thing, but a big part of 11t is its front matter. So each page is going to have its front matter, and that's deciding that's letting 11t know where your layout is and where it should be applying this content. And then we can use tag to also add information to this page. So an interesting way to show that is the title and meta tag file. And this is all the titles and descriptions for the whole site. So it keeps all your SEO in one place, which is really convenient. So if you're having titles that are similar or descriptions that are similar, you can compare them really easy to make sure you're getting your SEO just the way you want. And you're calling that through that tag there. So that's that front matter tag we just looked at. We simply set an if statement for that tag, and then it will take this content and put it into that page. So it's pretty much that easy. For each different category, you can just update your naming conventions in here along with the front matter to realign what your page names are. And for the blog, it's dynamic, so we don't have to do that for each post. It's gonna loop through each one of those and grab the title from the front matter and the description. We'll take a look at that quick. So the blog, index for the blog here, I'm going to graphic design subcategory, example subcategory, and the front matter for each one of the posts is right there at the top. And there it's grabbing that title and description from this front matter. And here's where you're also setting the title for the actual page and the date, featured image, post image. We can turn post image on or off right there. That's built into the template. So yeah, that's a good part of the how 11t works overall. And now I can kind of jump into the Epic CSS side of things. And kind of like I was saying, if you were to do typical CSS, you would have a file, and this is the style sheet where the style sheet is running from. But instead of working out of this style sheet and writing your styles more in a general way, we're using mainly utility first, but then also it's also compiling styles that we're adding to that would take more than just a utility to create. So there's no hard rule that you have to use utility first. It's a base that sets up everything that you kind of generally need for colors and layouts, covering all the main things and giving you the flexibility to be able to build right out of the HTML. So for instance, if we go to, and I don't know if I mentioned before I go there, this theme has a watch command on it, so it's going to update every time we do an update to the file. So it's watching anything on 11t and anything within my Epic CSS styles. So if we go back to the home page, and for instance, or actually let's do this right in the browser, and then we'll jump back into the file itself. So I was kind of playing around here, and for example, if you wanted to change the padding to, if we have a spacer setting in our variables, we could look and verify that margin bottom 60 is there, and if we change that, it is, and it's available to us right through the utility styles. And then if we want to, instead of having a gap that's separating things, we want to push that. We have two separate pieces here. We have the logo and the nav. So if we want to push that nav back to the right, we can just say, we'll do that on the end here. Just the utility for that is just like Tailwind, justify between, and that'll push that over to the right there. So some really easy sort of ways to work without having to, it almost literally takes out an extra step or two when you would normally be doing CSS. And you get into that workflow and you start to be able to do different layouts and prototype and test different stuff really fast. So back to the site itself, if we were to do that same thing here, just justify between, and then we're removing, oh wait, I'm in the wrong file. Cut that out of there. So if we're going to go to the header and add that to the header, and then remove the gap that's creating the space, and there we go. It should update in the browser for us as that gets built out. Let's see, is it building out? Did I save it? There it went. I didn't save it. So yeah, it automatically updates in the browser, and there we were able to just really quickly, come into the HTML. We never had to touch any CSS. Now, if you do need to add CSS or adjust the utilities or the UI library, that's all these files here. And the base file has all the semantic HTML. This is good for keeping things sort of organized in a sense that headings, anchors, main, article, all the things that we think about when we think about HTML5 and semantic HTML. And like I said, there's no hard rule that you can't make custom styles. You have that option here in SCSS. So as things progress and they start to get out of the realm of some of this base core gridding and colors and things that could be a little bit more integrated, where you really need to have multiple styles multiple options or properties in a class, then you can just add that here or create another file for it and import it. Easy enough. So the options are all there, because basically what you're getting is a custom UI library integrated, and you can work with it or just kind of use it as is. And a really interesting feature that kind of helps explain this is like when you're working with variables in Sass, and do so much more because you have access to all these different variables. And so, for instance, if I wanted to change the color, I have another color pattern of primary and secondary colors here. And I'll just comment out this color theme and go back to that color theme. There it goes. Updates the color theme immediately. And so you can see, like, if I wanted to create a root here, and that would get outputted into the CSS, and from there I could create a light and dark theme real easy, manage different color schemes and all kinds of stuff. Like it says, put all your variables in here and then pass those into your UI library. But one set of variables I want to show is the spacing. So that was available. We went from 80 to 60, and there's that 60 right there. So we kind of know the pattern. We set the design UI pattern based on these spacers, and that's how we get this really uniform and professional look going down the page as we do, because we're doing it a little bit more of a formula or programmatic or in a formula kind of way, where they're all relative because we are able to manage them in one place here. So we can see exactly what the number patterns are to create the spacing and the look and feel of the library. And you have access to all that here with the 11T theme. So that kind of is the gist of it. I just want to talk about performance really quick, and kind of reiterate that idea that static generated sites and using Flexbox utility first in Sass to produce a lightweight style sheet is what I'm finding is the way to go. It's kind of showing itself, obviously, when you're clicking through the site and the speed of it moving, but also we're also keeping an eye on everything. It's in terms of performance here. We're keeping tabs on the performance and testing the web vitals. So you can see that by linking through from the Epic CSS site to Lighthouse, or also we're in the leaderboard for Speedify at 11 starters and currently on number 6. So we keep this, keep an eye on this. I keep an eye on this to make sure that any changes are not going in the wrong direction, so to speak. So some of these are anomalies, and it's not like an exact science, but it gives us a really good indication of where the direction of things are going. If there's a reason why maybe the speed index keeps going up, we can address that immediately and get that back to where a reasonable amount, but definitely keeping it within the standards, and then also going a little further and trying to keep it closer to that 1 second versus 2 seconds is where we're going to start to see that lag, where you start to lose that application feel on it. You don't don't really it starts to feel more like a regular website when we're trying to emulate what that speed is of an application, so you get that feel that you're in a sort of like a special application environment when really you're just on a static generated site. So yeah, that's the core of it, and 11t allows us to do this, and then combining that with some of these other tools really takes it to the next level. And you can see that we have full control over things to the point where if there was even an extra space or an indent here, we can control that all with 11t and Nunjux. So yeah, it's working out really nice. Fun site to work on, and I'm liking the performance and its usability and everything. So give it a try. Let me know what you think.